Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All Out War, episode number 115 of the podcast today. We're going to have an amazing guest, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. But I do need to make a quick special announcement. As you know, most of you know, we mark our podcast as explicit for various reasons, but in this particular episode, we are going to be discussing the topic of human trafficking, and there are some graphic story, a little bit of graphic stories, some stuff that younger ears or ears that aren't maybe even that have been through something like this may not want to hear. So I would encourage you to just heed to that warning if you're sensitive to these things, or if there's a younger person around listening, maybe it's best to wait until they're not around to listen to it. But it's an amazing testimony that we have here tonight, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. So, as always, I would say sit back, grab a coffee, and enjoy.
You're listening to the All Out War podcast.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of All Out War. I am Turner, and we have an amazing guest here with us on the podcast episode. Her name is Kelly Galindo. I probably got that
Galindo.
right. Galindo. She literally just told me that, and she is the director and executive producer of an amazing film called 26 Seconds. 26 Seconds is in reference to the 1.2 million children that are trafficked every year. Every 26 seconds globally, a child is brought into human trafficking. And it's an industry that is bringing about $150 billion into just from human trafficking. So it's an evil plight, and Kelly has created this documentary. I recommend everybody go look on YouTube, check out her website. It's called 26secondsdoc.com. 26secondsdoc.com. And you can check her out.
And 26 seconds, plural. 26 seconds with an S, doc for documentary.com.
Yes, thank you. I'll put the links in our show notes so everybody can connect to it and see it as well. But Kelly, I just want to welcome you to the show. Tell us a little bit about how this all came about.
Yeah, this is the $1 million question. It really was something that God just put on my heart this was years ago, it was probably 10 years ago, that I saw a episode on Dateline that was about sex tourism in Thailand. And I was in shock because basically what I felt in my soul was something has to be done to stop the men that are specifically flying to Thailand to specifically rape children. Like, they're pedophiles that know that they can get away with it. I mean, I was in shock, and it was so on my heart for years. And I thought, okay, because I'm a professor in a film school at Chapman University, Dodge College of Film Media Arts, and so I have access, to equipment, camera and sound equipment and editing suite. So I thought, okay, I should do a short on this because, I could save some money, obviously, because someone has to start. It all starts with us. And, God works through people, but so does Satan, right? And before I went into this project, I was looking at traffickers and pimps and madams and sometimes even parents that sell their own children, and especially the John, as I wasn't happy. I thought these are the bad people. But what I have learned, and I don't want to give them a pass because I do believe that we should have consequence for our choices and sin. I do believe that. But what I did learn in this project is that these pimps were, because I've interviewed a few, were definitely brought up in that. They had no father figures. They were raised with, uncles or whoever, older brothers or whoever that they have, that they look up to, were making money in this way. Johns, a lot of times I've interviewed quite a few Johns. Johns, a lot of times, have themselves been abused and molested as children. So, as much as I want to hate these people, God, and I know it's God because it always comes from love and peace when it's God. He did set on my heart that these people too need to be healed. So the project, I'm getting ahead of myself. I knew that I wanted to do a short documentary on this, but I had a documentary on sex tourism in Thailand, but I had no idea how it was going to happen. I just knew that I could use the equipment where I teach, that would be helpful. And then, like 5 years went by before I met, actually it was my niece's friend from childhood, but I met her at my niece's baby shower, and she had a shirt on that said Destiny Rescue. And I said, "Oh, hi, Jennifer." I said, "What's that?" And she says, "Oh, I work for this organization called Destiny Rescue that rescues and restores and reintegrates children from the sex trade in Thailand." I said, "What?" I said, "Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to do a documentary on this." And she goes, "Really?" She says, "Because I'm the assistant to the international director who's right here in Orange County. Do you want to meet him?" And I said, "Yes." So that's God, of course, right? So I met them, and it took quite a few meetings, at least 6 months before they approved for me to be able to go and film with them, and as it should, right? They want to make sure that I don't have nefarious, reasons of wanting to be around these children.
Right, yeah.
Because that's another thing I've learned, which has been horrific for me to find out. But there are a lot of organizations, and there's even people in the UN, and they have all these organizations that are supposed to help children, and they're actually molesting these children or trafficking these children. So that's a whole nother thing too. Yeah, which is heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking. But they did vet me, but I too was in prayer about who God wanted in this project. I was just listening to God. If you say yes, I'll walk forward, and without knowing, your plan, I'll just walk. Hey, take the first step, and I know that you'll lead me. And I said, but if you say no, then I'm going to trust that too. Yeah. So I do have to say that the project went. So I went to this trip to not only Thailand but also Cambodia with Destiny Rescue, and that's where I filmed undercover with rescue agents. I had access to film survivors that they were restoring in their reintegration homes. In their restoration homes, and then they also have. Destiny Rescue kind of does it from A to Z. They even have prevention homes, and they have reintegration where they give them a trade. So like either like a hairdresser or to do jewelry or a crepe cart or a coffee shop with some way so that they can earn a living, because if they can earn a living, then they won't go back into the life. Yeah. So long story short, when I was there filming, I actually realized that this was huge and a much bigger issue than just a little episode on Dateline, right? On sex tourism. This is worldwide. And so Destiny Rescue at that time said, we also have organizations in Laos and Dominican Republic and India and quite a few countries they're in. And Nepal and a few other countries. And so I said, oh my gosh, I would love to go to India with you. So a year later, I ended up going to India with them. But in the between that, God kept opening these doors. And I know it was God because it was like crazy, the doors that were opening. A lot of it had to do with these organizations all know each other. And I think the first one trusted me, then, they would then say to them, oh, you can trust her, whatever, right?
Yeah,
All I know is these doors kept flying open. So now, a few years later, I had partnered with over 40 nonprofit Christian organizations, and I had filmed in over a period of 3 years. I had filmed in 9 countries.
Wow.
So the project definitely was of God, because doors just kept opening. And I told God I would keep saying yes to where He wanted to take this project. Early on, I told Him, this is your project. You're the producer. I'm just, just use my talents, use my, resources, and for your glory. And so He's done that. And, now it's, so when I got back from Cambodia and Thailand, I edited the short, it was just on Cambodia and Thailand, because that's all the footage I had. And I actually put it out there in the world, and I was really pleasantly surprised and honored, and it won like 20 awards. And so I knew I was going in the right direction. And then COVID hit. So even our school shut down, right? So I'm going, oh my gosh. So I started editing little videos, like 5 to 15 minute videos for my YouTube channel. And I did it for a few reasons. One, because, I had everything stopped, right? And I didn't want to stop. But more importantly is I wanted to create awareness about the issue, one. 2, I wanted to market 26 seconds, get some attention on the project so we could move forward in raising funding to complete the feature docs. And then thirdly, I wanted to highlight the nonprofit Christian organizations that are doing incredible work here in the U.S. So the videos on my YouTube channel are just from the U.S. content only. And the reason I wanted to highlight them is because they're not all going to fit in a feature documentary. A feature is like 2 hours long maximum, and I have 9 countries, so each country is going to get 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have 10 videos on YouTube that are each 15 minutes, so I just thought that it was a great way for the viewer to get involved, because I not only wanted to create awareness, but I wanted, it to be a call to action, because each and every one of us have gifts or talents or a career that like if you're an attorney, these girls are going to need, that help, right, in that area. I'm a filmmaker, right? But whatever your gifts are, there's people that are just great, prayer. They need prayer, or they're great with, crafts, creating craft, whatever your gifts are. Some people, just want to donate money, and that's fine too, right? Because these organizations because they're nonprofits, and they do need money to continue the great work that they're doing in rescuing these children.
Yeah. One of the things that I saw, and what an excellent point you just made about, whatever your gifts and talents are, they're still purposed, and useful. It's not like, just because you are a lawyer, doesn't mean you can't help out in this cause in some way. But one of the ones that impressed me was the flight attendants.
Aren't they great? Isn't that a great organization?
It was amazing. And the wisdom in it of all with these flight attendants, for those that don't know, they would basically keep an eye out. They were trained how to look for people being trafficked and being either brought in or brought out of the United States and other countries. And I think the first rescue that they did ended up busting up a porn ring, and I think that the number was like 80 people were rescued just from one flight attendant being willing. But I think the director of even that little organization was someone who was rescued out of human trafficking, if I'm not mistaken. So
Nancy Rivard was not rescued herself, but the girl that works for her name is Donna Hubbard, I believe. Okay. Donna was sex trafficking. She was trafficked. She was a victim of sex trafficking, but she became a flight attendant. Now that goes into that the reintegration. That is so important. If you can educate and give them a career, that not only they don't need to ever go back to the life, but they are because they've experienced it themselves, they reach survivors the most.
That's right.
I have been out on the road. There's a pastor. His name is Pastor Doug Bennett, and Pastor Doug Bennett the organization is called Magdalene Hope, and he used to be a John in his addictions of drugs and sex, and his story is he was molested. So it took him on this whole road of, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Of sin, because as a child he was molested. So Pastor Doug later, when he almost died from drugs and this, that, and God came into his life, when he gave his life to God, he created Magdalene Hope, and he began rescuing survivors from the sex trade. He opened up a restoration home where he restores them. I mean, he has trained staff, trauma therapists, but he opened up a restoration home. He also reintegrates them. He has a coffee shop. Let me tell you something. I've been undercover with Pastor Doug. When I go out, you'd think that they would be more like open to me because I'm a woman, right? They'll walk right past me. They're like, they'll walk right up to him and like give him a big hug because they know when somebody has walked in their shoes.
Yeah.
They know. So whatever, and I can't encourage people enough, whatever your testimony is, that testimony, I know people have a walk to be healed, but in my opinion and in my experience, we only can be healed through Jesus. In my experience and opinion, I've watched these girls.
No, 100%. I agree with you.
But whatever our own deal is, we do have to be healed, right? But once you're healed, your story becomes your testimony, and your testimony is what can reach people, whatever you've been through. Like if you were on drugs, or in fact, you and I have had this conversation, I think, right?
Yeah, we did.
I think it was with you, right? but it's like only someone that's been through something that does the other person on the other end know I can trust this person because they've been there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about, you mentioned you were undercover with Pastor Bennett, and when you were, so how did it work when you were like on your trips over into say India or wherever you were, and were you just kind of carrying a camera around, and did you have to get permission when you talked to these girls, or how did that all kind of work itself out?
Well, two things. Undercover means undercover. No one knows you have a camera. And there is, I have to say, as a filmmaker, it's much more enjoyable filming in other countries. There's not as strict as, permits for things. So it really feels like the Wild Wild West when you're filming, but of course, I'm very respectful to if there's, and I also have media agreements with these organizations, right? So I'm going to follow what their requests are and what's written in our media agreement. And what that is first of all, anyone under the age of 18 has to be blacked out, period. You can't show their faces, even if that's undercover. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But of course, when I'm interviewing the survivors from their restoration homes, I have appearance releases with them, et cetera. But I shot them very poetically. Like, I shot them in silhouette. So they're really beautiful shots, but you can't see them. If they're over 18, you can ask them, and it's their choice.
Yeah.
So most of the survivors that I shot in other countries are definitely silhouetted and blacked out. The survivors here in the U.S. that were over 18, most of them were okay with being seen. And you saw a couple of survivors in some of the videos. If they're seen, it's because they were over 18 and they said yes to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you would start your interview, I mean, is it, there has to be a level of guardedness and just kind of fear or intimidation for them. I mean, was it hard to get them to begin to share with you? And what was the most like eye-opening thing that someone shared with you?
I have to say the hardest interviews of all were the ones from Thailand and Cambodia. And it's, I think it's two things. It was maybe my first trip, and I wasn't, I was very much being very careful and respectful, and but I also think more so than that, it was their culture. They're very respectful. They don't. Their parents have sold them into the brothels, and they won't say that. They feel it's just a cultural thing that they feel it's their duty. You know, they kind of. It's in the Asian culture in Thailand and Cambodia. It's the eldest girl. It's her duty to go to these brothels so that she can pay for the rest of the children.
Wow.
So they're not very open about. They won't say, they don't show anger. They don't want to disrespect their parents.
Yeah.
So those interviews, I have to say, were the hardest. The others, and again, I think it's culturally, like in Iraq and Mexico and India, these girls were just, you know, they just wanted to tell their stories. But I think they did. So I think it's a cultural thing. But I also was getting better at interviews as I went on. But I always made sure to ask. Well, I always prayed with them before we started. They were already in restoration homes, so they were already, you know, learning about Jesus and His forgiveness. You know what I mean? But I would always start with prayer with them, and then I would always ask about where it starts, which is the childhood. And I interviewed a lot of survivors, like about 10 in each country and about 26 here in the States. Every single one was molested as a child.
Yeah.
So what this tells me is that when that is done to a child, it breaks down their like they have no value of their own self or their own body. So what happens is traffickers know this. So here in the States, it's a lot about the social care system because it's broken. And these kids have already been molested either by their parents, that's why they were taken away, or even in these, I found out, in these, what are they called when you have a foster home?
Yeah.
They'll molest. I mean, it's so these kids when they're get out, they can't wait to get out, and when they're 18, but they have no parents, they have no education, they have no money. So pimps know this, and so it's not hard. Like it's not like what we see in the movies. They actually go and pretend that they're their boyfriend. The girls go willingly because they have nobody, and they're nice to them for about 2 weeks, and then they start beating them and starving them and taking them cross lines and to other states and trafficking them. Yeah.
I knew of one girl who had been rescued, and she was in a ministry I was a part of, and she basically was they had her kid, and they said, you know, you're gonna do what we want, or we're gonna, you know, and she loved her child, so she basically did that for about a year, and it started off as a romantic relationship, but then it just turned sour really quick, and even to the point of where he would force drugs into her to get her onto the street. And a lot of people don't realize this, but you know, if you're a drug dealer, and this is something that I've talked about before on the podcast, but if you're a drug dealer, you get your cocaine or your weed or whatever it is you're going to sell, and you sell it and it's gone. But with human trafficking, you have a return. You can sell it again and again and again and again, and eventually it destroys that person so badly that then they just get rid of them. They either dump them, leave them, or kill them, you know. And I just don't think people understand that it's all about money at this point, and that's why a lot of these cartels have moved into human trafficking, and they're actually not even interested in drugs as much as they were, because selling girls is much more profitable, and they get less time. You know, they won't get in as much trouble. And these girls, I was talking to one of my friends that has a podcast. He was saying, you know, why don't these girls like rat these guys out? And I said, Doug, they've trafficked this girl when she was 12. That's a little girl. And they've had sex with her because they break them first. They first have sex with them before they, you know, start selling them to other men, to Johns and to tricks. And so I said,
an 18, 20-year-old girl that's never been trafficked falls in love with the first person she's had sex with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's a little girl.
Mm.
Like, yeah. So they think that they're in love.
Mm-hmm.
They think, even though they're being beat, even though they're being starved, even though they're being trafficked, 10 times a night and giving all their money to their trafficker, they think they're in love.
Man.
It's the only family they have.
It's just straight evil.
It's awful.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable to me. And so you started off going overseas, and that your first experience was in Asia, and but then here in the States, a lot of people don't realize the human trafficking here is equally as bad. There's every city in every state has human trafficking problem. I think
Yep.
I remember reading something around the Super Bowl last year where they were talking about how the Super Bowl is one of the largest human trafficking venues in that week, anywhere in the world.
Yep. Yeah, it's anywhere. The traffickers take children and women where there's men. So Super Bowl event, Olympic event, Disneyland. That's why it happens. I don't mean in Disneyland. I mean outside. You know what I mean? So
Right.
they take them with their people. And yeah, Super Bowl's huge. I shot at the Super Bowl in 2017. I shot in Minneapolis.
Mm. And you just don't, you watch the Super Bowl on TV. It seems like, oh, it's just a football game, and people are there to enjoy the football game, but it's so much more than that that's happening. And
I was so upset was it this year? Yeah, this past year when, I think it was this past year, maybe the year before. Anyways, when Jennifer Lopez and Shakira performed.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Both of them, because they're both very talented. It's amazing what Jennifer Lopez is doing at 50 years old as a woman, and as an entertainer. It is, kudos to her. But why? She had cages with children in it.
Mm-hmm.
Shakira had her hands tied up.
Mm-hmm.
These are all images of trafficking. Why would the Super Bowl allow that, or why would these artists want to do that? I was very upset.
What do you think that is? Do you think it was? I don't think it was coincidental. I think it was.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either. So, what I do know is what I've been experiencing, because I just saw this episode on Dateline, sex tourism in Thailand, and God said go, and I went, right? And of course, through each country, each organization, each interview, I learn more and more and more, of course. Now, 5 years later, I am realizing I'm meeting survivors that, from satanic cults, from the political elite. I mean, we're talking at the top of the syndicate where it's happening, which I had no idea about, right? Until I interviewed a couple survivors. It's heartbreaking because it's at the very top.
So when you say very top, you're talking governors and police chiefs.
Not only are some of them buyers, John, tricks, but some of them are actually trafficking children.
Oh, so it's a business.
Very high up. It's a big business.
Whoa.
And it's a big business at the top.
Wow.
It's no different than the guns, right?
Right. No.
Remember the Fast and Furious or whatever with the gun, right?
Yeah.
They were sold from the top. Drugs are sold from the top, and then they get into the street to the smaller pimps and the smaller drug dealers and the smaller, but it starts at the top.
So
it's pretty evil what's going on in our not just country, world.
Yeah. So
world.
so what? So you interviewed victims that actually testified that of names of people that were pretty high in political offices and so forth.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what's stopping us from being able to press charges and call them out?
I don't know anyone, do you, that has had 56 friends commit suicide, except for Hillary Clinton. Do you know what? Do you know that many friends that have committed suicide?
Right.
I don't.
Touche. Great point.
I don't know anyone.
Yeah, it's a sad truth. Yeah, you're right. It's a sad truth. Oh man.
That's a lot of friends who have a lot of problems to commit
Yeah.
suicide.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you're to be in the film industry and to be, you're you're in California, so you're on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of in the heart of a lot of craziness going on there. When you because I mean, like the person that comes to mind to me is Harvey Weinstein.
Mm-hmm.
And it's notorious. I mean, the acting in Hollywood, the casting couch was the big thing. That was what they always talked about.
When Harvey Weinstein, when it came out that he, when all the women started coming out, I remember at first, because I was an actress for years, I went on auditions, but I wasn't at that level. I wasn't in the A. I did like B films, and you know what I mean? I wasn't in that level. But my own experience in Hollywood, so when I saw Weinstein being called out, I was kind of like, okay, I've met 1,000 of those guys. Like, okay, he might be the most powerful and the most rich, but he's not the only guy.
Right.
It's very normal, the casting couch. I also know from my experience, I don't want to speak for other people's experience because it could have been rape.
Right. Yeah.
But in my experience, especially after interviewing so many survivors, the Me Too movement is not the same as children being trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying these girls aren't vulnerable, and that makes people make bad decisions. But in my experience, you're not forced or coerced or raped. You are definitely, it's like a carrot in front of you. If you'd like to have this career, if you'd like to get this job.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it really is a choice. A big one when you really want to be an actress. It's a big choice, but it's a choice. And now I'm not saying because I'm, anything's possible. I've certainly learned that filming this movie. I'm in shock every time I turn around. I'm like, oh my God, can it get any worse? Can the human condition get any worse? And it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is that bottom line is this. We have a real, it is all about money, but we have a real spiritual deficit and problem. And if people don't have God and don't have Christ and don't have light and don't have love, then there's nothing, why wouldn't they make money their God?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So this entire world, I don't know how it's going to happen, and maybe I don't need to know. This is too big of a job for me. It's for God, but this world has to turn from darkness and evil and towards light, or there's no chance.
I think
like how much darkness I've seen, I'm like, oh God, come on, just do another flood. Like get rid of these people and start over. Like that's how I feel.
Wow.
Yeah, we just got to start over.
Well, I think your point though about, hurt people, the cycle of, the cycle of a broken person is going to operate under broken, understanding and function broken. And if you can break that cycle through the rescue and then restoring that broken woman or child into a real, positive, healthy, and definitely have a strong, pure spiritual emphasis with Christ and the church, you have the opportunity to take that life and it can be transformative for multiple generations. But
absolutely,
and that's the thing is, and your tenderness, you're admitting tenderness to these guys that are, buying these women. it's obvious they have problems, they have issues, and obviously, yes, we want to see the law enforced on all of those people that are doing this thing, but brokenness is at the root of it all, and sinfulness is at the root of it all for sure. How does so like because it's a learned behavior, like when you're broken like that and that's all you know, how, I mean, it must take years of just therapy and forward progress in the right direction with healthy people, always kind of investing in these girls'
Well,
lives.
when it's really huge, like I think you even heard an interview I spoke about, because it's a documentary I saw on a trafficker from I think it was from Switzerland, or not Switzerland, but one of these countries. I forget.
I think it was Finland,
Anyhow,
wasn't
he
it?
was a trafficker. Yeah, Finland, or I forget where. Anyway, this trafficker specifically trafficked newborn babies for a certain elite clientele that wanted just babies. And when they have sex with these babies, the babies are killed. So that is so dark and so evil that they, yes, need to be put in prison, and let them find God in prison. But these type of people cannot be out on the street.
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is, I pray for them, because obviously they're in a lot of darkness and evil beyond.
You're being more generous than me to say that they need to find God in prison. I'm more of they need to find God at the end of an execution or noose.
I mean, so it's there's, I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking. It's so dark and demonic, and I mean, there are satanic cults that
yes
torture and kill babies and children.
Yeah.
And sex is always involved in that.
Yeah.
In that torture and in that sacrifice.
Do you see the do you see the I think about just our current culture right now, how the everything is sexified, everything. Even like the big battle right now, and where I live in our school district, they're trying to kind of purge out all of these sexual books and pedophilia books. And do you see that as sort of a grooming into an acceptance more of this?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And even like on Netflix,
they're calling these parents terrorists for not wanting their children to be exposed to pedophilia.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's evil. That's evil. It's not going to go down.
Are you kidding me?
Oh man.
I'm so glad I don't have a child, because I would be in prison if they think that that's a terrorist, being a mama bear and fighting for your child.
Oh, no. The FBI, the FBI has fought some pretty rough criminals, but they've never faced an angry mob of moms.
Well, there's a joke, that if they wanted Bin Laden caught, they should have sent in women. They would have found them really quick.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I see I'm trying to think of that show that was on Netflix about a year ago. I can't think of it. What was it called? Oh, it was about all the
Cuties.
Yes,
Cuties.
that was it. Yes, and
awful,
and nothing happened.
Fine. Oh, nothing's gonna happen to them. You know what I learned when that movie came out? It was it was so in my face, so clear. I said, "Oh, I get it. They're not interested in my project. They're interested in the exact opposite. So I got it, God. I'm going to do this and put it out myself."
Wow.
No one in Hollywood wants my project. It's about rescuing, restoring, and reintegrating children, and only God can do that. They're not interested in my project.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just the sexualization of our youth, and they're just, the social media, the Instagram, the TikTok, the everything is just over sexualized. And even just this
I mean,
week, I saw a pole dancing for elementary's kids. They want to teach elementary or middle school kids how to pole dance. Like, what is
well,
when?
that's what Cuties was about. It was these little 10-year-olds that were pole dancing, but basically what that's doing is pleasing the pedophile, right?
Yeah,
They're glorifying, they're sexualizing a child and pleasing the pedophile. And let me tell you, these books these mothers were upset about was far worse. These books had illustrations of, learning, a little boy learning to have oral sex with a man, not even another little boy, a man, a grown-up. This is nuts.
yeah. Well, there's no doubt in my mind that your documentary is the timing of it is perfect. And I really believe that there's just a tremendous, I mean, in the last few years within the church in particular, I've noticed a lot more people are aware of it. There's different movements that have come about to make people aware of human trafficking. But I think the big thing is people don't know, how do I get involved? What do I do? How do I help? And I think that's something that,
Well, I'm here to encourage you. Whatever your gifts are, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you do as a career, start there. That's where you can give.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's perfect.
That's where you can start. And in my project, you're welcome to. There's a tab that says partners, and those are all the NGOs that I've nonprofit organizations that I've partnered with. And if you go to that tab, you click on their logo, and it'll take you to their website, and you can read about it and read about what they're doing, whether it's in prevention, rescue, restoration, or reintegration. And it may be in your city or your state, or it just may, you feel equally yoked with what they're doing, right? But you can start there, or just find out who in your community, in your city, what organizations are doing.
Yeah.
Or your church. Every church now almost has a human trafficking, a ministry. So you could start there,
Yeah. And if your church doesn't have one, find one that does, that's close by.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's a great his name's Pastor Kevin Brown. He has a church called Side by Side Church, but he created a outreach called Harbor Outreach, which is on Harbor Boulevard, across from Disneyland. But it runs all the way from Anaheim to Anaheim, Garden Grove, Santa Ana, like the whole Harbor Boulevard, which is, very like 10, 20 miles long. But anyways, he created this Harbor Outreach. And the reason it's called Side by Side Church is because he created it for all the churches in the community to come out together. And so they go out there Friday nights and they minister to the girls, and they give them a bracelet that, with a number in there. Like, if you want to get out, call this number.
Wow.
And so he's Pastor Kevin Brown is who I went to Iraq with. He was doing incredible work during because we went there when ISIS was still there. So he was doing incredible work with his husband and wife he was an attorney. She was in the Iraqi parliament, and they both, because they're Yazidis, when ISIS, it was genocide, when ISIS was killing these men and then abducting the children and women and making them labor slaves and sex slaves and making the little boys like ISIS fighters, they quit their job and they created an underground rescue mission, and they went in and rescued a lot of these Yazidi girls, and 100 of his men got killed. Like, it was a dangerous thing. Wow. And I have, of course I interviewed them, but that's who Pastor Kevin Brown partnered with in ISIS. He just felt that God needed him there, so he went. And I said, oh my gosh, Pastor Kevin, you have to take me with you. And so I went, and I have incredible interviews from that.
Yeah,
I have to say they were the most heartbreaking, because what ISIS did was like beyond. It was, oh my God.
And
I interviewed a 7-year-old a little 7-year-old, and she was already rescued 2 years, so she was being raped between 2 and 5.
Oh,
I mean,
my goodness.
and she had like, I don't know, I think she said she had like 6 traffickers. You know, they sell them amongst each other.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a little bit, I mean, it was beyond though, because like her whole family got killed. You know what I mean? Like,
So she had no
so
one.
much
Yeah.
heartbreak. No one.
And
No one. I asked her, do you want to come with me to America? And she goes, no. I go, but I have horses. She goes, no.
wow.
she didn't want to come. I would have took her.
You know,
For sure.
I think people don't realize, like, this is what you just said, you know, the vast difference between a guy who's buying a ticket to go to Cambodia to get some underage, you know, prostitute in Asia versus all the way across the spectrum from in entertainment.
But I want to correct you on something though, because this is what people make the mistake. There's no such thing as a child prostitute. That's not, right. You go, it's not a prostitute. It's a child that's being trapficked and forced and coerced. And there's no such thing.
Yeah, I take that correction. Okay. I'm sorry. But you know, the spectrum of the guy flying over to Asia versus, you know, all the way into ISIS, where they're literally just taking over. And we even more recently, Taliban, you know, once they took back over after the debacle of our exit, I was immediately hearing stories of kids being kidnapped and women being taken and placed into harems, you know, quote unquote harems, for the Taliban leaders, the new leadership that took the vacuum. So it's literally across the spectrum. You've got.
Oh, they're absolutely, children and women are going to be trafficked in Afghanistan, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, within a year I'll be over there filming.
Wow. Man,
yeah.
I want to go with you sometime.
You know, God, I remember, and I know it was God because I wasn't even praying, and it just came out of nowhere. And you know, it's always a calm, still voice, you know, but he said, I want you to include what I'm about to reveal. And I believe what he was talking about, it was trafficking at the syndicate and the very political elite that are trafficking children. And yeah, that's what I believe God meant. But maybe he means that, you know, maybe he means Afghanistan. I don't know. We'll see what God meant.
I think I don't know which one's more dangerous, the political elite or ISIS.
I'm more scared of the political elites, actually.
Sadly, yeah. I know. Just whatever you do, don't go to a park by yourself, and always check in with people, you know.
Oh my gosh.
So what's the next steps here for your documentary? I know you've won a bunch of awards, and
so that was for the short. Yeah, I'm really, really honored, and I was pleasantly surprised, and it was really, I mean, I didn't expect it, and but it just gave me a sign that, okay, what I'm doing is in the right direction, the style, you know, that I'm shooting, obviously, if people are reacting. Definitely, I always knew the issue was an important message to, you know, to create awareness about, right? But yeah, so I probably am going to edit about, I don't know, maybe 6 more videos for the YouTube channel, because I'm doing that while I'm trying to raise funding. You know, you know, I have a funding campaign, but I'm going to do the American film market this year, you know, trying to get investors. And so I'm doing a few things, of course, applying for grant film, you know, funding. So, you know, so while I'm trying to raise funding to complete the feature documentary, so I can include all 9 countries I filmed, I'm going to still edit these small videos and put up on the YouTube channel, just so I can highlight the organizations and what, you know, so people, not only they learn while they're watching these videos, but more importantly, if they want to, you know, they'll have a choice of which organization maybe they want to support. Or, you know, of course, people are also welcome to support, you know, the 26-second feature documentary. You know, I think on my website, there's a tab just that says, I think, donate here, or make a difference, donate. I think. Anyway, so they're welcome to, and that'll take you to my funding campaign. They're welcome to donate to my project, and at the very least, because I know, you know, COVID has done just a number on people financially, you know, that have lost jobs. So if you don't have money, don't worry about it. You know, you just subscribe to my YouTube channel and share the videos. And then, of course, you can go on my website and go to the partners tab and then look through all those organizations I partner with and see if there's one of them that you want to donate your time or your talent to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or again, like we mentioned a moment ago, your own church might have a human trafficking ministry, or find out what's happening in your community. And because you don't have to, it's not just money; it's also time.
Yeah.
Your gifts and your talents that can be used, for to help eradicate, human trafficking and sex trafficking. So it's not just money; it's also what you can give. Like we were talking about an attorney, they can do a pro bono. They can help someone.
Yeah.
So wherever you can help,
Yeah.
I strongly encourage that, because I do know that we really are the most. I know it always sounds so cliche, but it's true. You're the most blessed when you're giving, really, and especially when you're aligned with God and what He wants to do. And I know one thing: child trafficking breaks God's heart.
Yes.
This is not how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
For any child.
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah.
Well, I want to just encourage our listeners that are here, that are still with us, that listen. Unfortunately, money is what it takes to do stuff, and it's just the system we live in. And so, if you can make a one-time offer, a one-time gift, or maybe even a reoccurring gift to be a part of being, getting this documentary to see the light of day, and all that God wants to do with it, I would encourage them, go to the website, click on the button to donate, check it out. There's, different opportunities, and obviously the ministries always need help. They always need, it's ridiculous. We live in such an affluent country, our nation. It should be easier in some regards.
Yeah.
But you're right. Time, talent, and treasure are the three things that we have to offer. And I agree with you. I think people are made, the Bible even is very clear. People are vessels. We are jars of clay, right? We're vessels. We're made to be used, to be poured out. And whatever it is that you have, whether it's time, talent, or treasure, maybe this is something that you can dedicate some time to be a vessel for and help out. And I will definitely put.
My greatest joy is knowing that every day when I get up and when my feet hit that floor, Satan says, "Oh shit, she's up." That is my greatest joy.
I like that. Sometimes I wonder if that's not if the angels aren't saying that about me when I get up. Oh, he's up! Darn it! We were hoping he'd sleep in a little bit longer.
And if we, there's if you have an army of people getting out of bed and putting their feet on the ground, and Satan goes, "Oh shit, they're up."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I just my wife and I watching the YouTube videos this evening, before you and I talked here, we were it made me aware. I have two teenage daughters. Well, I have a 20-something-year-old daughter and a teenage daughter. It just made me aware of I need to just be more observant when I'm out. And just kind of
absolutely,
just look and even be praying for discernment and that intuition to kick in if it's needed, and not be afraid to ask, confront, and you never know, because it could be an action that would actually save a life, and you might be the only person that that you might be the person that God puts in front of them, to help them.
Absolutely, but I do believe this. So parents, because some children are unfortunate and don't have parents, but the ones that have parents, there's no greater responsibility than being, there's so many words for it, but your child, not only, if a child has a relationship with their parents, they won't easily be swayed. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Little girls need their father.
Yeah. That's right.
Little girls need their father. And I'm not saying you'll be their best friend because you got to be a parent too, but when you have a relationship where they know that they trust you and you love them and they know that, believe me, when they are encountered with somebody that's not like that, they're not easily swayed.
Yeah, that's right. The flags go up immediately and they distance themselves. Yeah.
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 I do want to clarify one thing because we talked about, the title of my project is 26 seconds. Every 26 seconds, a child's trafficked globally. I actually believe that number is far lower because we don't know, which is tragic. We don't know the numbers of online trafficking because now it's moved to online. It's probably 90% online. They don't know those numbers. They also don't know the numbers of the syndicates and the political elite and trafficking that's going on in these underground tunnels worldwide. They don't know those numbers. So it's actually far less. Who knows? Might be every half a second. I don't know. It also is far greater than a $150 billion industry. Those numbers are for like the pimps and traffickers on ground in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's not online and it's not in the underground or the syndicates.
So let me ask.
It's pretty scary.
Let me ask you a question about the tunnels for a second, because I've heard a lot about these things. I've never really understood, but is the idea that there's a tunnel network in cities that are connecting other cities or just within the city, like a grid network, and they use those to transport the women or the children? How's that work?
Yes. Okay. So I interviewed a survivor that she was trafficked at 15 and taken to the Getty Museum. And when they went down in these elevators, she was drugged, but she said she was still coherent enough to see that it was so huge that every type of transportation that you can think of was down there. It also went from the Getty to Universal to Disney to even to certain Hollywood homes, Hollywood elite homes. Yeah. So huge, right? Now, we know that there's tunnels underneath the White House and the Capitol, in Washington, D.C. And I'm sure that was built to keep presidents safe in case there was a war, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is these things turn into something nefarious and not nice. Also, the Epstein's Island, neighboring islands are owned by Biden and Zuckerberg. Yeah. So underneath these, in the water, they have submarine tunnel. I can't pronounce it. How do you pronounce it?
Submarines. That's right. Yeah.
Thank you. And that traffic children. Okay, and all of these political elites went to Epstein's Island all the time. Yeah. They have it on record. I'm not making this up. They have it on flight logs.
Right. Yeah.
So, and there are missing children constantly out of third world countries.
Mm-hmm.
Constant. Where'd they go?
That's right.
So, it's pretty scary. I myself haven't been down one. I just have interviewed someone that has. And Charlie Ward, I don't know if you know him. He has a podcast, but what state was he in? But he's actually been in one. It was underneath like an air base.
Oh, wow.
So, but they have them everywhere. They're under the Vatican, and the Vatican, it runs all the way to it's not just a city, it's countries. It goes all the way to Israel.
Oh, wow.
They have these huge, nefarious, and it's not just child trafficking, that's part of it, but it's all other kinds of nefarious things as well happening.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary, actually. I mean, it's actually, I miss living in naivete,
yeah,
right?
Right.
I missed that. But this is fact and reality, and that means once that is put in front of you,
Yeah.
you either do something to fight against evil and darkness, or you pretend to be back in naivete, but you're not, because
Right.
you know now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Once you're awake, it's tough to, it's a hard pill to swallow, and it's tough. So did this girl that you interviewed when she had talked about the Getty and all that, did she end up going to someone's place, or did they take her to another
Nope,
location?
they trafficked them down there. She was trafficked to 3 men down there. And she said she doesn't know what happened, but all of a sudden there was like fighting between the trafficker and the Johns or whatever. And she said, and then her trafficker whisked her and her friend away. But they were supposed to be down there for at least 10 men, but it was only like 3.
Oh, wow. 10.
Something happened. I don't know what happened. She doesn't know. She was 15 and she was drugged. She just knows that all of a sudden they got whisked away.
Wow.
And I don't want to stay on your shoe, but she definitely met a few actors that she told me about, and a few politicians. And one's in a very powerful position right now. So it's pretty scary.
Wow. Doesn't surprise
Pretty
me.
scary.
Doesn't surprise me. Man. Well, there's lots of work to be done, and I just, applaud you for, obeying the Lord to take a step and make this documentary. And I just pray that you can get everything you need to get this thing out, and that it'll accomplish everything that was intended for it. I'm sure that there's opposition.
I just know now I'm not trying to at all make it a big Hollywood anything. In fact, I even think Hollywood's dead actually after COVID, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it that. I learned that when I saw Cuties. They're not interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm just following what God wants revealed to create awareness and a call to action for the people to save children, period. So I just want to finish it, and I'll put it out myself, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm just put it out. I know one thing. I did an interview on whose show was it? It was William, I believe. Anyway, somebody contacted me, and he has a show called Real Women, Real Stories. And he wanted to interview me, and I said, "Oh, sure." And then I looked at some of his videos, and they were videos. It's his YouTube channel and his website. It's quite interesting, and they're short videos. They're like 5-minute videos, but they're of either survivors from the sex trade or they've been abused. But they're women that have been through a lot, right? And so I was kind of confused. I thought, oh, I don't know. I mean, he's welcome to interview me, but I don't know. It's not like I'm a survivor, right? And so I emailed him back, and so what he ended up doing, I said, really, I think what's more in line with your show is the videos I've done on Survivor Story, right? That's what your show's about. So you're welcome to put one of my videos on there. So he did. He put the one that was titled "Sex Trafficking in LA." And he put it on there. I didn't think much of it. 7 days later, I checked back. It had 672,000 views, almost 1 million views. This is crazy, right? This is God. Like who could do, So that's enough, right? It's about creating awareness.
Yeah.
For people to be aware.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't have to do the Hollywood way, because I'm doing God's way. It's bigger than anything.
That's right. Yeah.
He'll take it where he wants to take it, so that people can be aware of the truth and what's happening, and so they can step up and do something about it.
Yeah. Well, you have
right.
You have the right attitude and heart about it. Absolutely. When God births it, nothing can stop it. And
672,000 views, that's crazy to me, right? That's great. I mean, in terms, so all I can do is keep moving forward, get the feature out, and hopefully that gets that many views someday. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So let's get this thing done.
Let's get it
Yeah.
done.
Maybe when
So,
you get it done, you release it. We'll have you back on the podcast. We can discuss, where it's going, what it's doing, and but I can't wait to see it. I want to again just appeal to our listeners to take a minute, go to the website, and check everything out, and definitely go check out YouTube to see the clips. You'll be inspired and you'll be challenged, and your eyes will be opened a little bit because there's some radical stuff there.
but I do want to share too that you will find amazing nonprofit Christian organizations doing amazing work. And they too were once, it's just like, the disciples, they too once were tax collectors and sinners. You know what I mean? And when you give your life to God, and I mean, these people are doing incredible work and rescuing and saving children and women, right? So whatever is broken you in your life is your testimony, and that testimony can help others that are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
So these organizations are incredible. Also, there is hope, which is Jesus. It's God, right?
That's right.
I mean, these girls were rescued, and they are being healed and restored. And only God could do that.
That's right.
Only God.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being willing to talk with us and share, your story, what's going on. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen here in the future with you. And if as we're closing out here, do you have anything other than YouTube and your website that people can connect with you? Is there are you on any social media outside of those? You on Instagram, Facebook?
Oh, yeah, sure. Of course, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I don't work at a lot other than posting just stuff about my project. Like,
Good.
It's like updates on what's happening or what award I won or what video I just put out or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just update that on the social media just because I have so much to do. I mean, each thing is a job.
I know.
But I would like to talk to you maybe. There is it's called Show and Tell. It's a platform where my short is on, and it's a virtual screening and fundraising event. But maybe I could text that link over to you, and you could put it in the description of your podcast, and maybe your viewers can go on to that platform.
Absolutely.
Another way to support. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that will help.
So we could do that too.
Awesome. That'd be great. Yeah, we'll definitely put that in if you get that over to me. Well,
But the main thing is just please subscribe so that my channel keeps growing, and share the videos, and of course, please check out the website and go to the partners tab so that you can see what some of these organizations are doing, and then I can't encourage you enough to check out what your own church is doing and what organizations in your community are doing, and to use your own talents and gifts that you have or a career to step up and help to help eradicate. I hope this is eradicated in our lifetime, but it's a big one.
Yeah. It is the thing, the big black eye. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Man. Well, Kelly, thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll be in touch. I want to, you have an open door here. If you can swing back in, check in with us every now and again, just let me know. And like I said, we'd love to follow up with when you get the documentary out for sure.
Thank you so much, sir, for all your support with 26 Seconds.
Yeah, anytime. And we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you too.
All right. Oh, don't forget to send me the link.
I won't. I got you.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the All Out War podcast today. If you had a blast, then we'd love to have you back for another episode, so please subscribe and leave a review. We love to hear from you. You can also follow us on Instagram at All Out War Podcast or on Twitter at AOWcast. These episodes are also available on YouTube, unless they contain a little too much truth. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.